Welcome to the Business Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Frondozo. I am happy to share this episode, which is a special collaboration with Up Next Global and the Brampton Ventures Zone, celebrating BVZ's 5 years of bold founders. I was honored to sit down as the interviewer and learn directly from this community of builders, innovators, and leaders. So let's get to it. I'm joined by Neelam Bance, co-founder of MedGeneius. Her company is advancing personalized medicine through pharmacogenomics. Oh my God, I can't say it. Helping clinicians and patients make safer and more effective treatment decisions. Neelam brings a strong background in healthcare innovation and strategy and is passionate about shaping a more patient-centric future. Neelam, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I just want to get started. What inspired you to create MedGeneius?
So I have actually spent most of my career in pharma, so in corporate pharma. So most of my days were spent, interacting either in sales or marketing with physicians and clinicians who would say to me, you know what, Neelam, this medication works really well for some of my patients and the other ones, not so much. I never really had an answer. I didn't understand why. I said, well, your patient must be taking it wrong, or you're, nudge, nudge, wink, you must be just prescribing it wrong. Or all I'd say was, this is what the clinical trials say. I don't know why it doesn't work for some of your patients. I never had an answer. And then a few years ago, I had the opportunity to work at a pharmacogenomic company, which does exactly that. It has, you do a simple cheek swab and you send it to a lab, and it will output a report that would tell you, guess what? Based on your genes, these are the medications that are likely to work for you and not work for you. And these ones might actually harm you. And that actually opened up a whole world. Even though I'd worked with medications and physicians my whole life, I never understood this concept of precision medicine. So when I had the opportunity to start MedGeneius with my co-founder, it gave me an opportunity to really do something that I'm extremely passionate about, is really helping, our Canadians, helping the world understand better, the right medication for them without that trial and error, and to be really more empowered in their own healthcare journey.
I mean, this is really interesting, and I think back in terms of a lot of the medications, prescriptions I've done, and I know before we press record, thinking about this trial and error you just said, why is this not general knowledge in terms of understanding our precision or our gene?
Yeah, so I know that the other startup founders, would speak to this, and you come from the startup world. The biggest thing, we are really smart people, and especially in Canada, we really make exceptional kind of technology. We're not that great in terms of commercializing or raising awareness. So the number one barrier to this actually not being just general standard of care is lack of awareness. So I've worked with physicians my whole life, and they'd say, what is the thing you're doing again, Neelam? What's the thing? I was like, oh, you know how you prescribe the medication and then you tell the patients to come back 3 months later and we'll try see how it goes, whether it's on an antidepressant, for example. And we'll see how you do, and then we'll prescribe another one. There's actually a way around that if you actually knew. Oh, so number one is lack of awareness. Number two is cost. We were talking before about, whether you're doing a lab test or something. Doing a genetic test is costly. We're not there yet. You have to send it away. A panel is expensive. So as Canadians, where we are used to more of this kind of we think everything is free, and that's kind of good and bad, we are not, sometimes we're crippled by the idea that we have to pay for something. But I mean, private healthcare is covering it, but public is not yet. Again, lack of awareness, lack of a real understanding of the value that it plays. So I could talk ad nauseum.
Yeah, so I mean, as you talk about private healthcare, and I'm curious, as those who might be listening or even learning about this, is this slowly getting into some of our health benefits when it comes to? Yeah.
Absolutely. Actually, it already does exist. So many, whether it's Manulife, Sun Life, actually most insurance providers in Canada will cover pharmacogenomic tests. So whether they're working with just one test or just the whole kind of science, it is becoming a part of the mainstream. But many people, the stories that I hear are, I am not going to let the doctor prescribe one more drug. I'm sick of feeling bad. I'm sick of, the doctor telling me once again. I want to be equipped with the knowledge. And that's when they learn about pharmacogenomic testing. Actually, the population that I would say would be the most interested is parents of children.
Yeah, that's me right now.
Yeah. So they say you're not going to, and I've talked with many of my friends who said the doctor's not going to give my child one more. We came out of the COVID, crisis, and many children suffered from, anxiety and depression. And I saw that with my own friends where my friends were saying, I'm done. I'm not letting the doctor prescribe. What can I do? And that's when, I tell them about pharmacogenomics. And I'm like, do this test. And then they were able to equip themselves, for the sake of their children to say, doctor, please, let's try one of these ones that look like they might be right.
Right. And it makes sense. I mean, as you talk about children, and my son's 2 years old, and, he had preschool asthma. So seeing my child puppet, but it's a known thing. But then as you talk, I'm like, and I always tell my wife, I'm like, because we just saw the specialist earlier this year, and they start giving him the puff for it. But part of me is, the other half is like, I don't want him on this all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So we see the specialist, and he has young children too, the specialist, and I'm just like, when can we get him off it? But it's a known thing. But as you talk about it, I'm like, oh, maybe I got to get his genes and really like, is this drug? I mean, it's a wide asthma type puffer. And
absolutely. But I will say that what this is, it's not, people think that it's just not fake science. It's not fake science. We're analyzing genes, but we're actually matching it to the scientific studies. So sometimes people will say, and I don't know the details of what all the medications that have the PGX insights, but sometimes there's some drugs that don't have. Those studies haven't been done yet. Or it turns out that actually, like the big one is GLP-1s, right? So people will say, oh, I want to take Ozempic. How do I know if it's going to work for me? Actually, when it comes to those kind of things, it's actually genetics that doesn't play a huge part of it. It's actually other things, like could be your microbiome, could be other things that actually might impact how you respond. So we don't want to oversell PGX. For some medications, it's perfect. Like there's a ton of evidence and you should use it as a guiding like rule book. Some other ones, there's not a lot of evidence, so we don't know. But that's it for everything, right?
Yeah,
some things are guided and have stronger evidence, and some things don't.
No, that's amazing. You shared before this, you're in big pharma, and now you're an entrepreneur, co-founder. Like, I'm curious, how has your personal journey shaped, your leadership style now, especially leading this company into the future?
Yeah, no, I love to talk about this, and we could have a whole podcast on this. But I grew up in corporate pharma. I grew up, and at the age I was, at the time I was, you just looked up to the leaders and you said, okay, they're the smart ones. I'm going to listen to what they have to do. And even if I had an idea or something, if it was kind of against the norm or whatever, I don't really feel like there was an outlet in the corporate environment I grew up. It's like, they know better. I am so anti that. So I think now as a leader, I'm a leader. I am the CEO of my company. But everyone who I interact with, I listen to what everyone says. Yes, do I have a lot of knowledge? Yes, I do. But I'm so curious and interested to hear about the perspective, whether it's another startup colleague or whether it's a student or whether it's it's not like I have a lot of employees at this stage. But I'm so interested because what I realize is I see in them me. I'm really smart, and I never felt like I was able to have a voice at the table. And I'm not picking on any specific, but the whole ecosystem of that corporate world was, you are the director, or you are the VP. They must know better. You don't know anything at your junior level. Where I just think that that's not correct. So I think being a leader is kind of taking out those old leadership kind of, or those old kind of systems of leadership, and actually being more inclusive, and we're all sitting at the table together.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
We're here sitting at Brampton Venture Expo. I'm curious, what role did the BVZ play in helping MedGeneius grow?
I think it's been incredible. Actually, the support and guidance that I got from the BVZ program or this cohort, I was actually told about it from my friend who was in the previous cohort, actually. And she's like, you got to go to Brampton because they are amazing. They do everything they can to help you, support you. So that's why I actually applied to be a part of it. And it actually really, truly matched up to the reputation. Like, it was inclusive, it was supportive. I think they have excellent executives and residents. I mean, one of the ones I'll just call out, Meena Lakshmi, she was great. Let's just get down. Like, she helped us create a white paper. So it wasn't just like, I'm going to sit there and tell you what you're supposed to do. She goes, let's roll up our sleeves. I've got this time that we're allocated through the Brampton Venture Zone. So let's get this product. I said, I really need to work on a white paper. All right, let's work on it. Like, as in editing a white paper. Like, I thought that was great. Like, really getting in the weeds as opposed to like standing up and saying, oh,
this is what you have to do.
I'm just going to advise you.
Yeah.
It was like, I am going to help you. And so I really love that. And the other thing that it really did help is in connections. Like they really did, part of, when I was entered to this kind of Brampton Venture Zone kind of program, then it was like you're meeting the deputy mayor, or you're meeting this person, or you're meeting this person at the hospital. Like it's not just them in silo, but they're really trying to bring in all the other partners or the kind of the ecosystem leaders. And I think that's been incredible actually for my journey.
Yeah, it almost sounds like, as I talk to many of the cohorts, the different stakeholders in the community, it's really a sense of this community within, the city within the greater of GTA in Canada, where it's very helpful.
And can I just give you an example?
Yeah.
So I was moderating a panel this morning. And so on that panel I was moderating the panel, was another startup, former BVZ cohort, Ken Spears, who's the head of MedTech, Boston Scientific, Veronique, who is the chief innovation officer at William Osler, and then Dr. Jobin Varghese, who's the dean of the medical school. And so we were talking about what does collaboration look like. And we said, we all went for coffee right now, just right after the thing, and said, let's talk about how do we actually put this into words. And then we went off and talked about what we could do. Like, let's have a dinner meeting, let's bring startups and thing. It was like amazing. We just had like literally just now, that's why I was, rushing to get here. And then we run into John, who runs the TMU, like all the zones. And I just said, hey, we just had a really great coffee and we were talking about this. And he goes, I'll support it. I'll support your meeting. Like, that's what I'm talking about. It's like words into action, which I'm really, excited about what Brampton Venture Zone is doing. And TMU, to be honest, is doing that. So I'm really impressed.
That's great. As we talk that about the future, how it all works together, I'm curious, looking back, what was the key turning point during your PVZ journey where your business model shifted?
I think my business model didn't shift, but what it kind of taught me was that there is an incredible amount of support that's out there. If you meet with like-minded people, so it's like like-minded other entrepreneurs. I feel like in my cohort, some of us have actually become quite close, and I'm going to introduce you to this person. I'm going to introduce you to that. So I don't think that it was a turning point, but I think what it just solidified for me is that this really, what Brampton is doing, maybe you could call it like a turning point, but I think that I'm focusing a lot of my energy. I live in Markham. And I literally said to the mayor of Markham, I'm like, why do I live in Markham? I'm going to go to Brampton because like these guys are really committed to supporting me and supporting MedTech. So maybe the pivot is if I'm moving to Markham.
Real estate pivot.
I'm moving to Brampton. That's hilarious.
It's the real estate pivot. So I guess a reframe or another way to ask it is there a single most valuable lesson that you gained from your time there?
Yeah. So a couple. One is that women are awesome. They supported, this was about women founders. So meeting other badass women was incredible. It was definitely a lesson. I think we, as women historically, and again, I grew up in that, not that women are less, but you grew up in like where it was a lot of male leaders. And so being in this cohort with a bunch of badass women has been amazing. And I think also learning and being so close to other entrepreneurs where helping you doesn't diminish me. We're not in competition. I want to support you and I want to see your growth as much as I see that you are truly wanting to support me. So I think that what BVZ did is it wasn't a lesson necessarily, but it fostered an environment where I could feel that.
That's great. I mean, this is amazing, and I'm super excited for everything that you and your company are doing. I'm really excited for the future and really understanding this and maybe implementing this right away in terms of like my children and myself.
Yeah.
But I'm curious if you could share, or very succinctly in one sentence, how would you describe BVZ's role in your entrepreneurial story?
If I could drum it down to one word, it would be supportive. I think everything that I've said that is probably the biggest contribution that is made to my journey is BVZ is supportive. And I really appreciate that. And I will sing the praises of this program for years to come.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for, the world that you're creating. And thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thank you.
That's a wrap, folks. This episode is part of the BVZ 5 Years Bold. It was produced in collaboration with Up Next Global. I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn from the founders and the BVZ community that continues to shape the Brampton innovation ecosystem. Until next time, have yourself a 100x life.